And so to me, the real estate game is super simple. It's networking, it's talking to people. I still call Joe all the time and say, hey, you know, I'm looking at doing this, I'm looking at doing this.
I just want to be clear, none of the deals that he's done, I had any part in. He just comes and tells me, hey, Joel, I made another several $100,000. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Can I invest with you? Can
Yeah.
I be your partner? All right. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of How to Invest in Commercial Real Estate. I'm Joel Thompson, here with my business partners, Braden Cheek Brian Duck with the Criterion Fund. I also own Precision Equity. And we're here breaking down how to invest in commercial real estate. And today we have got a special guest, which I'm excited about, Mr. Clint Taylor. How's it going?
What's up?
Good.
So the reason we are excited for Clinton to come on is because we're always trying to figure out how do we get the average person interested in commercial real estate and interested enough to take action.
Yeah.
And so that's what this is. Clinton and I are friends, but I wouldn't say we're like hang out every day friends. But you knew I was invested in commercial real estate. And I'll let you kind of introduce who you are and then kind of tell us how you got interested in commercial and investing in commercial real estate.
Okay. Well, like he said, I'm Clinton Taylor, owner of Woodland Creek Furniture here in Tulsa. So anyways, we've known each other for 10 years. I've called you multiple times and we've sat down and we've talked about, you know, my business, your business in 2018, 2019. That's still debatable of when that is. But we talked and I asked you kind of what you had going on, and you had some opportunities come up for your investors, and I wanted to kind of get involved in that, and you allowed me to invest in a colonial building here in Tulsa.
The biggest thing here is we are always putting together the newest real estate opportunity, right? So
Yes.
Criterion, Precision Equity, we're going and finding these real estate deals, putting the package together, and you were on Precision's investor list at the time.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Just as, hey, I'm interested in investing.
Yes.
Let me know what opportunities you have. And in that opportunity, you know, that sparked interest. Hey, this may be a right time. This property looks good. These returns I could deal with, whatever it was. And that sparked the phone call with Joel of like, hey, man, how do I get involved in this?
Okay, so I remember this because that was your first investment. We don't typically take a lot of people where they're just like, I got $25,000, I want to put it into commercial real estate. The reason we allowed you guys to is because you're a business owner here in Tulsa, and you said, hey, you know, I want to try it out. And we've talked about this before. Once you put a little money down on an investment, your IQ in that investment goes up.
Yeah.
Right. You begin to pay attention. You begin to learn about it. You want to figure out, hey, you got a little money down. I need to figure out what this is about. So you got in on the Colonial Building. It's a really great property here on Cherry Street, kind of a midtown location. And so you get your first distribution check. What'd you think?
That's when the light bulb went off for me and my wife. It was the easiest money we've ever made in our life. As owning a business, you know, I do as much as I possibly can to grow my business, and I'm there 24/7. And with that distribution check, I didn't have to see you for 3 months.
Yeah, somebody finally paid you money without you doing anything.
Exactly. And so that's kind of what sparked my interest and really started my real estate venture moving forward.
Okay, so then let's just fast forward to, we may not do all of your deals, but like, okay, so how did you, because people are going to say, okay, you got your first distribution check, but then what did you do? So what was your kind of gateway into real estate?
Well, seeing what you guys do, listening to podcasts, seeing what everybody else is kind of doing in real estate, I just started looking for deals is what I did. I was on realtor.com, and opportunity came up for my first deal in Keeper. My son wanted to go to school there, and so ended up buying that property. And when I bought that property, it just parlayed into a second property with a lot of cool little ventures in between.
So we'll ask you questions because I want people to get a sense for it. You didn't have to go buy a $500,000 house. This first house you bought, well, my first house that I bought was back in 2002, and it was like $15,000. Mm-hmm. This was in a better area than that, but it still was a pretty affordable house. What'd you pay for that first one?
We paid $55,000 for the first house.
Nice. And had a renter?
We did have a renter, so it was a calculated risk going into it.
Yeah, you have some income.
Yep.
Now, some people were going to say, okay, well, I don't have $55,000 cash. a lot of people listening could probably come up with $50,000 in cash to buy the house. If not, they could talk to a family member. They could find a way, knowing that you're going to be able to put a loan on that at some point and pull that cash out. But okay, so your first house, renter, what'd you sell it for?
$129,000.
Okay, and how much did you put in it? Did you put some fix-up money in it?
The first, it was about $15,000. It was move-in ready. I had to put heat and air, tile.
So you're in at $70,000. You sell it for $130,000. Now you got $60,000 in your pocket, and then you did the one next door.
Yeah. So the cool thing about that is the one next door had brand new windows, had siding, brand new roof, and then the guy was working on it inside. And when I went inside, it was just like a bomb, blew off. And he was underneath the house fixing plumbing, and met him and just asked, what he was doing and what his plans are. When he told me he wanted out of it, another light bulb went off.
He was a good negotiator.
Right. Great. And so I just asked him what he wanted for it. And he said he would take 43 of what he had in it. Again, new siding, new windows, new roof. To me, that's another calculated risk, because I'm thinking I can buy that. Worst case scenario, I can sell it for what I have in it, right?
Sure.
And so going into that first deal, that was my main thought as well. I had a renter, $55,000. Houses were selling for about $129,000 to $130,000, and so it was more of a calculated risk. And that's something that in all my deals I've done have been very calculated. And so, the next day, his wife brought me a contract. We signed. I called the bank. Got a loan because they wanted to know exactly what I was going to do. And the cool thing about that is, by the time we closed on that deal, I already sold the back half of the properties on both lots.
How'd you do that?
So they were they had bigger backyards than they needed?
Yeah, so it was a shotgun style, and so it was a super long backyard, and it backed up into a commercial property. I was driving. Again, I like to talk to people. So I got out of the truck. A couple guys were working on their commercial building, and I said, hey, would you guys be interested in more parking? I bought these two houses side by side. They have long backyards that, we really don't need. And so just talking to them, they asked me what I would take for them. I told them $25 a piece. He said he'd call me back. Next day, call me back, said I'll take it.
$50,000 right off the top.
That's it.
What I love about that is, most people aren't driving down the road looking at real estate thinking, okay, what could I do to generate value there? But it is as simple as that. Like, why do I need a backyard that's 300 feet long?
You don't.
If I carve off the back half of that, you still have a great backyard big enough for a pool. Could someone else use that land? That's just a real simple thought that made you $50,000.
It was. And not only that, listening to you guys on the podcast, you talked about a commercial deal that you have in Vegas. You ended up selling the front parking lot.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the trigger for me to be like, hey, I can actually section this off. And then every deal I've done from that point on, when I buy a piece of real estate, I make sure I have land that I can split, section off, and that's appealing to other buyers that want to build their own home or what.
So it's a pretty hot real estate market. Have you noticed any sort of competitive advantage that you're able to have by maybe offering more for a house than somebody else would because your value is in the land?
That's exactly where I see all the value right now, is where we're at is in the land. The houses that I buy now are beautiful homes that don't need repairs, and you don't have to remodel. It's really the value is all in the land, and that was a great thing. Listening to Grant Cardone, is he's always like, don't buy a single door, don't buy a single door, don't buy a single door, right? Well, what he made a mistake in is he bought a single door mansion, but he didn't buy that mansion. He bought this little hut down on a beach. He said, this is why I bought the property. And so now every property that I look at buying, I make sure that there's a piece of a hut that's why somebody's going to buy the property, whether it be a barn, a pond, just the atmosphere of that property.
That's a really good point, because if you have a decent sized house and it's on 20 acres, the house is most of the value. Let's say it's $1 million home on 20 acres. It's a big house. But if you carve that house out and put it on 4 acres, it's still worth about $1 million.
Correct.
And so that's the secret that you've been able to kind of do. Tell us, if you want, what's been the biggest deal you've done, and what was the profit that you were able to generate, and how quickly did you make that profit?
The last deal that I did was a $1.2 million investment. That was a cool story in itself. Me and the lady negotiated on a price. I was going to.
This is a house.
This is a house with land. Yes.
How much land? How big of a house?
The house was 5,700 square foot. Had a pool. It was probably the prettiest piece of property in all of Bixby, from
Your opinion.
my opinion, yes. It had, beside it, had a beautiful 60 by 40 barn, had about an acre pond on it. Then it had about 13 acres to the side of it. So the house, she just listed the house, and the house was like 995 is what the house was. And so I asked her, I was like, well, why don't you sell the land? Are you interested in selling the land? She said, yeah, we want to sell the land, but we want to sell the house first. And I said, well, I'll buy the house and the land. What do you want for the land? She told me she wanted $400,000, which at the time, of me researching every day on Realtor, knowing what land's going for, that was a pretty good number.
Yeah, that's, $400,000 for 13 acres in
Correct.
Bixby, that's a deal.
Correct. And so I kind of went back at 1.2, and I was like, hey, I'll buy it all at 1.2. And
So that's an important note. Knowing it's a good deal, going back, asking for a touch more.
Yeah. And it's fun, right? To kind of see where they're at. And so anyways, about a week goes by, we settle on 1.33. All right. So I said, I'll be there, sign the contract, because I think I can still make $200,000-300,000 just off the land alone. And so I'm heading to her house, and she texts me, and she said, I just got another offer, $100,000 cash, earnest, escrow, close in, 30 days. And it was
the house and the land.
House and the land at a higher price, like 1.6 or something that she wanted. I didn't respond back, right? Waited all day long. Texted her at the very end of the night, like 9:30, and I said, congratulations, hope all goes well. If anything falls through, let me know.
I love it. Holding to the guns.
Yeah, I was pretty heated. But cool thing is, she called me a week later, and she goes, you won't believe this.
A week?
A week later.
Oh my gosh.
She said, you won't believe this. They backed out. They're from California.
I bet they were from They were probably from California in her mind.
Yeah.
Hey,
Which I don't falter. This is a good trick if it works.
They saved me $150,000 because I said, well, the only way I'm buying the house is at 1.2. She goes, let me talk to my husband. Call me back 20 minutes. We'll do it. I said, I will be there in 10 minutes.
No, my
so
gosh.
she had because she was the realtor as well. And so saved $150,000 in a week. Bought the house at 1.2. And here's the other cool thing is now my dad's kind of in on the deals, as you grow and develop and they start believing in you a little bit more. They want to be a part of it. He's always been a part of it, but now he's actually going to live in these homes. He's going to pay the mortgage note. So now, again, it's a calculated risk that I'm not paying the note, from the bank. And so he's living there. It's a beautiful home. It's my dream home, not my wife's, or we'd probably still have it. But absolutely love the property. Don't have to do anything to it. And bought it at 1.2, ended up putting it on the market with the realtor, sold it within 2 weeks of putting it on the market with the realtor at 1.7.
That's insane.
Well, I love that. So a $500,000 profit.
Yes.
And I want people to appreciate that. Just think about this. This is a friend of mine with not very much real estate experience that gets an idea, has a little success, and you're out just looking and the due diligence of trying to find the property, $500,000 on one deal, on one house that the whole city of Tulsa had access to this deal. Because I think the big thing is a lot of people think, well, I don't know where the good deals are, or if it's marketed to everybody, surely you're not going to get a good deal.
It's just a victim mentality.
That is a victim mentality. And the thing is, my early mentors convinced me of this fact. The deal of the decade comes along once a week.
Yeah.
And I really took that to heart. I'm like, the deal of the decade comes along. They're out there. The deal of the decade's out there. I just got to find it.
Yeah, and
people aren't looking at it, and you found it.
Absolutely.
And you made years worth of income in 3 months just because you were looking and that you believed it was possible, which is big.
And he was able to be steadfast with the negotiations. I mean, that was huge. Waiting a week when something, I mean, you see the opportunity, you see the value, you see everything, and then you're just like, oh, man. And waiting a week. That is insane.
Almost makes me want to get back into residential, huh? Who's with me?
Yeah. So I think one of the big things here is you find these opportunities in residential, you find these opportunities in commercial. I see strip centers, retail strip centers with excess land all the time. You can see all sorts of opportunities with excess land. And the value is in your underwriting and where you can find value. We've sold, several out parcels. You guys had a closing on an out parcel in Little Rock recently.
Yep. We only owned half of it because we shared it with there's a big Hobby Lobby owner, and then it's our strip center.
Yeah.
So we only owned half of it, but we sold it for like $1.2 million.
Yeah,
Just the parking lot, no building, nothing.
But just the idea that you partnered with a neighboring property owner, you didn't even own all of the parking lot, but
Right.
your neighbor
We joined together.
Yeah, you
carved
couldn't
it
have
off.
done it without each other. It was a symbiotic relationship. You said, hey, let's put this thing together. So when you're looking at a property, that can be the competitive edge. That can be the reason you can pay full price. That can be the reason you get awarded the deal, is because while everyone else is looking at the house or the shopping center, you're focused on something completely different.
Correct.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the idea you walked in this house and it's chaos on the inside, even though they had spent some money on the outside. And the first, words out of the guy's mouth is, how do I get out of here? How do I get out from under this? I hate this. And so for everyone listening, no matter what market you're in, there's that guy somewhere in your market that thought he was going to try real estate, did it all wrong, is super busy. He's stressed out of his mind. He's uncomfortable with the mortgage or whatever it is, and he's ready to be done. And those are the opportunities that you can find if you're in the market.
Correct.
If you're calling on houses, you're looking at vacants, all of that stuff. So I think that's a good point is find somebody that's a don't wanter. I don't want to be here. I don't want this house. I don't want this apartment complex.
Yeah.
Now today's market, commercial real estate's so hard, it's kind of hard to find those guys. But as the market turns, we'll find people that got in at the top and they wish they hadn't.
I find it's even harder to ask for it. It's hard to ask for money or a discount or a deal or negotiate. It's hard in a regular market or a bad market. But in a good market, when it's so competitive, you feel lucky just to get the freaking deal, let alone go back and ask for something more. You feel bad. But asking could be, $30,000. It could be $300,000. It could be more.
This discussion kind of takes me back to when people ask me, well, Joel, I've got 25,000, I got 50,000. What do I do? What do I buy?
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't know. I don't know what you should buy. But the reason I wanted to have Clinton on is because I'm so impressed with what he did with $50,000 investment. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't go tell you to buy a small rental house in Kiefer, Oklahoma. It's a real a small suburb of Tulsa, guys. That would never be my advice. But that's why I hate giving that advice. Is that I just want to open their minds to what's possible and to teach them that real estate can be a solution for them, and then let them go to work in their submarket, in their city, with their contacts, with the money they have, and find out what's going to work for them. Because they're one deal away from starting their journey on success in commercial real estate, and they're one idea away from having all the money they want.
Yeah, another thing I want to ask you is we talk a lot about side hustles and the ability to kind of escape your day job if you don't want the day job and be able to do whatever it is you want to do. So
Correct.
All of this was a decent amount of work. I mean, you're wheeling and dealing on the side here with the real estate deals. You started out with, hey, I own a furniture company. Who's running the furniture company?
My dad is a big part of that success. And then it's, 13 employees who I invest into and allow them the opportunity to really grow the business. Listening to podcasts again, you hire the right people to drive your business. And we've been fortunate with, the 13 employees we have. They love what they do. And for me, I've always been there. And so it took a while for me to kind of back off because it needs to run itself. I'm going on year 11, 12. Real estate just came about 2-3 years ago. And to me, that is easy. It's super easy. It's a phone call. It's a
Yeah, the amount of money that you've been able to
conversation.
make for the hours invested probably have no comparison to your.
Zero, almost zero. I mean, and so to me, the real estate game is super simple. It's networking. It's talking to people. I still call Joe all the time and say, hey, you know, I'm looking at doing this. I'm looking at doing this.
I just want to be clear. None of the deals that he's done, I had any part in. He just comes and tells me, hey, Joel, I made another several $100,000. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, can I invest with you? Can
Yeah.
I be your partner?
That's awesome.
But it's networking, right? It's building relationships. It's asking questions, and it's just researching. I mean, seriously, you know, on Realtor.com, I look at it, you know, 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night, see what comes up, you know, new, what's all around me. And I've done all this within 3 miles, 4 miles of where I live. And so,
It's even better.
Yeah, how easy is that?
yeah, it's super
Money is all around you if
It
you're
is.
listening. It's all around
is.
you, but you just have to know what to look for.
Yeah, and put in the consistency and the plan, right? He had a plan, which, you know, we can get into that in a second, but obviously a plan of, hey, I want to get into real estate. You're spending 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at night, which is an inconsequential amount of time. We waste 15 minutes all the time, several times a day throughout the day, but you're spending 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening looking at deals. I would say every single one of us is looking at deals at least 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at night. And that's how we're able to find opportunity, right? If you're not out there looking for the opportunity, it's not just going to smack you in the face.
correct. Yeah.
Well, I want to just plug the furniture store real quick. I won't spend any time at Woodland Creek, right?
Woodland Creek Furniture Tulsa.
Okay,
Yes.
it's here in Tulsa. They have awesome stuff, both rustic and modern.
Yeah, so we have 2 stories. Upstairs is very rustic, Western Lodge, Southwest,
lake house stuff.
home,
Okay.
mountain home. Downstairs is very contemporary, modern, traditional, organic. So it's 2 floors. Truly a destination just to come and enjoy it.
Okay, so if one of our 8.5 listeners wants to come by your store, they get a discount. They say, hey, I heard you on the podcast. I want a discount. Is there like a small discount you get for podcast listeners?
10%.
All right.
No way.
There you go.
There we go.
If you're listening, go by the store and check it out. Let them know you heard us on the podcast and you get 10% off. That'd be awesome. So what other questions you have?
I think I'm good. Clinton, thanks for coming on today, man.
Hey, congratulations on your journey, man. All started with hey, remember what he said, not what I said. It all started with getting a check in the mail he didn't have to work for.
Yeah.
And he thought, I need to do more of this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Those distribution checks will change your life. And just getting a little money down got you more and more interested in commercial real estate. So we highly recommend either get a deal or invest in a deal and watch your interest in commercial real estate grow. And from there, you're off to the races.
Yeah, and just like Clinton, the first step is going to our website, howtoinvestin.CRE.TV, and hit investor list or sign up for our investor list. It'll take you, you fill out your name, email address, and then you'll get all the opportunities just like Clinton did, and you can invest just right alongside of us.
And don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify and all the other accounts. And I guess we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.